This meeting is being recorded.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining. My name is Kat. I am the founder and CEO of Habitats by Kat, which is a travel community. Our members get access to global suppliers. So suppliers range from hotels, resorts, cruises, vacation properties, tour operators, and more. But today we're going to focus on a really unique supplier. And it's something that's really special, and it's such an amazing topic that, quite honestly, we should be highlighting. We've got more people coming in, which is great, on a more regular basis for sure. Um, so I'm going to let Angela introduce herself along with her business, Threads Worldwide.
Yes, Kat, thanks for having me. My name's Angela, and I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Threads Worldwide. And Threads was really born out of my travels. Travel is one of my biggest passions. I've traveled all over the world. And whenever traveling, I would see the way that women specifically were living and realize and notice how the way that they were living was not correlate to the great talent that they have to make beautiful things. If you've traveled anywhere in the world, you've probably experienced that, where people are coming up and selling things to you. And usually their market is to sell to tourists or to try to sell to each other. And I realized if we could connect our really strong market here in the US with the women that I would meet in India or Guatemala, then it could really make a difference in their communities and in what they're trying to do. And so it was probably after my trip to India, that I came back with this fire of figuring something out. And that's how Threads was born. And what we do is we create work and connection with women around the world, specifically in 8 countries, to women here in the United States. And so we have pretty earrings like this, or like the ones that Kat's wearing, or the ones that Andrea's wearing. Yeah, really from all over the world. And I don't know, I can keep talking, but I sort of forgot your question, Kat. It was just to say hello, right? And introduce myself. So there we go.
No, thank you so much. And I think this is such a great topic because outside of, operating my travel community, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but we work with real estate agents. And it's, holiday season, and real estate agents and any entrepreneur, you have to find unique ways to give a gift, a holiday gift to your network, to your clients. And so before we dive into the meaning behind gifting with Threads, I'd love to hear where your passion, or when the fire was burned inside of you to launch Threads. Was there an aha moment that you had where you knew you really had to start this business?
Yeah, so really a lot of it was inspired from my travels in India. I have a couple moments burned in my head in Cambodia of this little girl was following us around to get food, really. And she directed us over to a little grocery store, and she wasn't allowed in. But she was pointing through the window at what she wanted.
So you wouldn't hear, so you wouldn't have to hear it.
Hi, Tammy, can you hear us okay? Okay, go on.
Oh, there we go. And she was pointing, and we couldn't figure out what she was pointing at. And then we realized she wanted grape juice. That's what she wanted. We thought, we can't possibly buy this little girl grape juice. So we did, but we also gave her some other food. And just like moments like that, moments like seeing the people lined up, in the medians in India living there. I just came back knowing that I had to do something. And then to make the story even a little bit longer, I discovered what sex trafficking was in 2009. I know it's existed a lot longer than that. That's when I first learned of it. And I could not believe that existed in the world. And I got really obsessed with it. I couldn't sleep at night, literally tossing and turning, thinking about it. I audited a class and learned about fair trade. That was the first time I really even learned what fair trade was and where our things are made and why that's important. And I dove really, really far into that. And then one day there was this skirt on my floor from the Congo, and I had this flash, and it was like, sell things made by women and sell through a community of women. And so it was like, boom, boom, this idea. And I just thought, okay, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I have no idea how I'm going to do that. I didn't even have a website. Didn't know how to build a website. You know, I traveled a lot, but I'd never done any international business. I barely even wore jewelry. I was a volleyball player up through college, and just, you know, didn't doll myself up. But knew that it was one of those ideas that once I saw, I couldn't unsee. And I've been working at it for 12 years.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So on your website, and when you're shopping, it's really cool. You can read about the different artisans that Threads works with and the co-ops, but the stories of these women and how this opportunity of making jewelry and home goods has actually given them, you know, a livelihood, a way to take care of their families, but a business. So can you talk about those relationships you built in like India and Guatemala and Ethiopia, and how you built them?
Yeah.
How you tied that together. That's amazing, because anybody who's passionate about travel outside of traveling to a new destination and, you know, capturing all the amazing pictures of your hotel and the restaurants and your coffees and your martinis out to dinner, when you really think about the difference you make in that local economy, and then you bring it down to what Threads is doing, you really, it brings new meaning to your travel and where you choose to put your dollars, which is so important. And it's very easy to forget about, because we're all wired to focus on the likes we get on Instagram and how many followers we get, where
The comfort of where we're going.
yes. And I just love what Threads is doing, and that we get to work with you all, because that aspect eye opens me every time I think about it. So would love to learn more about these artisan partners you have and how you develop those relationships.
Yeah. I think I can tell one story that will tie both of those together. So we work with, like I said, we work with 9 groups in 8 countries. So we work with two groups in India. And we've been working with them. It's really important to me that when we partner with a group, that it's a long-term sustainable relationship. We don't want to work with somebody, and this is from a mistake, honestly. We at first we started and we wanted to work with everybody. We'll buy a pair of earrings from a group in Nepal, or necklace from a group in Bolivia or Brazil. That doesn't do anything for anybody. So we several years ago decided we were going to narrow to expand. So we were going to narrow the groups that we worked with to expand and deepen the impact that we can have. So we've been working with these groups just for a really long time. Anybody who's, so you call your people travelpreneurs, right? So we're socialpreneurs, social impact entrepreneurs. So any socialpreneur can earn a trip. We go visit our partners once a year. We've been to Guatemala twice, Bali, Ecuador, Bolivia, and we're going to Vietnam in April. Andrea is going with us. And when I was in Bali, so this was before it was not on a trip with the socialpreneurs. I was there actually for my honeymoon. And I met this man, Agung, and Agung is the founder of the cooperative that we at the time been working with, I don't know, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years. So I was actively involved in fair trade, very thoughtful about what I buy. I mean, I bought 1 pair of shoes and 2 sunglasses in the last 9 years that are new. Everything I buy is secondhand or fair trade. So I'm like very thoughtful about where I spend my money. And I'm sitting there with him as his partner, as somebody who's involved in fair trade. Like I would be thinking about these things, right? And he starts talking to me about how when tourists come to Bali, and he specifically was talking about Japanese and Australian tourists, because there's a lot of Japanese and Australian tourists there. When they come to Bali, they fly in on Japanese airlines, they get picked up by a Japanese tour company, they sleep at Japanese hotels, and they eat at Japanese restaurants. So they're coming to their country, their land, using their resources, and all of the money, for lack of a better way of saying it, is staying in Japan. And I'm sitting there like nodding my head like, oh, of course, trying to pretend like I knew that I had thought about this before. Here I am, again, sitting across from him, like as his longtime partner, 4 or 5 years at the time, thinking, oh my gosh, all of the trips that I go on, and I never think about that. And I think of myself as a really conscious consumer. And so it just opened my eyes to, wow, like you were saying, Kat, the how much power we have as consumers, where we shop, where we decide to spend our money. So if you're a traveler and you're somebody who, when you go on your trips, you make sure that you seek out local restaurants and local hotels and tour guides. Yes, that's the best way to go and be a contributor as a traveler. And maybe you do that, but then at home you're like shopping, the dollar bin at Walmart. Well, we can't do it all perfectly, but how can we sort of co-educate each other? Because we're the same people, we're the same community that have the same kind of interests. How can we co-educate each other about the importance of where it is that we're spending our money? And that's what I'm really excited about, Kat, with our partnership that we're building is, speaking this knowledge into each other that we might not otherwise be thinking of and making choices based on.
Right. And in the travel industry, sustainability is such a huge topic, but it's also a topic that is extremely overwhelming because everybody wants to do good, but then you dive into what doing good means, and there are so many layers and components of being truly sustainable where you just nailed it. You can't do it all. Nobody can. I don't even think some of the largest companies in the world can't make all the right choices to be 100% sustainable. It's just not possible. So what advice do you have for or what advice do you give your socialpreneurs who are starting out in Threads to, niche down or to really focus on the kind of content they put out there when, promoting your mission at Threads?
Good question. We really spend time talking about, depending on where most people will join us because of the mission.
Yeah.
Because they want to create work. We have a lot of conversations at the beginning about how we aren't here to help anyone. These are really powerful women. I could tell lots of stories. Let me know if you want me to. But about the women that we work with, these are powerhouses in their community. They don't have the same kind of access that we do. They don't have strong infrastructure. They don't have a really high GDP. They don't have the things that we take for granted here in the US, but we're not helping them. So at the beginning, we're talking about sort of the relationships that we have with the women, and really honestly, mostly just to share personally what it is that they were drawn to. I would say probably this is something that we can learn better from you. We are not really, really strong in social media. Some people are, and I think we have the product and the business model to be really, really strong there, but it's just not something that we rely mostly where most of our sales come from is in-home gatherings. So women will say, I want to get together. I miss my girlfriends. I haven't seen them since COVID or whatever. I'm going to have everybody over, and then it's going to be based around the jewelry, the home goods, the gifting, all the things that are happening, all the shopping that's happening right now. It's just like these small pop-ups in people's homes. And we do social media, but it's not, we're not really talking to them about specific content other than sharing personal stories and styling themselves, showing off, where is this made and who made it and what's it made by? Because our goal is to have people slow down and start to think about where they're shopping. Think about when you walk into the grocery store, are you buying the fair trade bananas or the cheap bananas because you're saving yourself like $1? So that's the kind of, there's so much that we can talk about. I think that people pick what's most interesting to them based on why they started.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, being someone that's been obsessed with travel basically my whole life, I've always loved finding the hole in the wall restaurant or cafe to go to when I travel. But when I come home from my travels, I don't think about how I can be making an impact, right? But and based on where you're buying products that, people go shopping all the time, right? Like I'll drop 40 bucks on a new shirt or a bag I like or earrings, just like, most people do. So I want to now make an effort I do focus on the hyper local aspect when I travel, but I can do a better job of that when I'm home. I only like going to local spots when I'm home too, by the way, but having that global attitude of like, well, just because wherever I am, I'm shopping local, I can still think globally in that as well. But I would love to hear a story about some of the women. Maybe there's an example of who made the earrings you're wearing, or I have a little card here that explains the women that made the earrings I'm wearing in Ethiopia. But if there's a story that, sticks in your brain,
Yeah.
I think that's there.
Yeah. I will definitely talk about that. I'll tell one. Really quick, I just want to say, like, same thing. Like, I become a different person when I travel too. I think honestly, I become a better version of me, more patient and slow and curious than when I'm here. So I really get that. And if we think about it here, like when you said that about you want to go and you want to find these local experiences when you're traveling, that same kind of thing is what we're trying to bring to people through our jewelry. We are natural storytellers. If you think about any time, just listen. Next time somebody gives you a compliment or somebody gives a compliment to somebody near you, what the woman says, I almost guarantee it is not just thank you. She has to tell where she got it, the deal she got, that it was for a gift or something like that. So we're already sharing these things instead of being able to say, oh, I got these for, X dollars at Target. We want women to be able to say, oh, thanks, I got these. Aren't they beautiful? They're made by moms in India. Like, to be able to have that kind of connection everywhere that we go, that we represent. So when I tell a story, I think I want to tell a story. I love telling a story of Santos. She's one of our partners in Guatemala. And so there's been some unrest in Guatemala lately because of an election that happened, and they elected in a new president, and the current party does not want to turn over power. And so Guatemalans, if you've been down there, they love to block off roads and protest. Well, that's been happening at a very heightened degree. And so there's been a lot of delays, and we've been working on getting in an order from them forever that just shipped today. So it's finally going to be in on Monday, which is just a sign of the perseverance of these women. So they're in very remote areas. Santos is her name. She's in Sunana, if you know that, around Lake Atitlan. It's actually it's a not touristy place. So not many people, even if they've traveled to Guatemala a lot, have heard of it. And it's on this very steep, I am talking steep hill. And Santos, when she started with this cooperative, she was 19 years old. She already had a almost 2-year-old, and she'd been married since I think she was 16 or something like that. That's pretty common in their area. And Santos, when we first met her, she didn't speak very much Spanish. She speaks more now. She actually speaks their local language. I think it's called Quechua. I don't know exactly. But so when we were there, they're translating from Quechua to Spanish to English. And this woman, so I've seen her, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 times now. And when I first met her when she was 19, she's this sort of timid, teenager mom who's the leader of this cooperative. All of these Americans come in. I think there were like 5 of us in this group, staring at her and asking to tell a story. And she's a little bit, like uncomfortable, as a lot of us would be, especially as a teenager. But she tells us a story about how when she started this cooperative, she didn't know anybody in her community. She was completely isolated. It was tradition that you move in with your in-laws. So imagine getting married and then moving in with your in-laws to take care of the family. One room, they cooked over a fire on a dirt floor. And Santos had recruited, I think there was 20 women in the cooperative. And we asked her how she, how did you bring everybody in? How did you know who they were? She didn't know a single one of them. She just started getting the word out and started creating this community of women who make our bracelets. So Santos now, I don't know, is maybe my fourth or fifth time back there. And she's, I don't know, say 26 or something now. And this woman, when she speaks, it is like she is part of the earth. I mean, you can like see her roots, and all she does is just speak possibility, speak possibility. She's like shushing people left and right in her community, like if they're talking out of turn. She started so the cooperative is thriving, and she started a coalition with other women leaders in the villages around the lake to create a project to clean up the lake and start a recycling program at the lake. So this woman, like this is the kind of woman they asked her to be. She started it, and then they asked her to be president. She said, no, I'm too busy. So she's the vice president. And she is somebody, like when we talk about, we are not helping her. Yeah, we sell her products, but that's just our role in the relationship that we have. And she's made it, like, not only has she elevated the lifestyle of the women that work there. So the women now have smokeless stoves, which are it's fire, but it's contained in a stove. So the smoke goes out, where before they were cooking over an open campfire. They have solar lights, they have water filters, all of these different things that they've elevated in the community. But I think the coolest one is that she's really transformed the way that women are looked at in the community, that they now can work outside the home, and the contribution that they have when they're able to contribute in that kind of way.
That's an amazing story. And I think as, you know, entrepreneurs here in the States, there's probably so much we could learn from somebody like her, because it shows you that she started this basically on her own and doesn't have the resources that we have here, but through networking, through community, through getting the word out. She's built this business from the ground up, and there's always something to learn with what her strategy was. What did she say? Who was she talking to? How many people did she talk to a day about this to get from A to B to C to D, right? Any entrepreneur needs to know how to sell and promote themselves. She clearly mastered that.
Yeah.
So cool to think about. And we have so much from her, and I'm sure there's other stories, but you know, I'm a real estate agent. I own a travel business. Finding new business is something that we have to do every day. And I just think about someone in her position having to recruit and sell and have a mission and explain what that is and what they're going to do. I mean, it's remarkable.
It is. It is.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask Anne or Tammy, thank you so much for joining. Did you have any questions before? I'll let Andrea say hello really quickly. She is a partner of Threads with Angela as well.
We can't hear you, Andrea.
Oh, were you wanting me to say hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Hi, I'm Andrea, and I am a socialpreneur, so I own my own business with Threads Worldwide, and I've been to 3 different countries with Threads. We were supposed to go to Uganda during COVID, so that got canceled, but maybe it'll be next year's trip. But I've learned so much about fair trade and just about relationships with our partners and how women like Santos are changing future generations too, just by taking an active role and contributing to their family through this work. So yeah, happy to be here and good to see you again, Kat.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we end the webinar today, Anne or Tammy, do you have any questions, comments, thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I'm going to go look up the website now, but I have a similar story. I went to India many years ago and I thought I'd come back and I have to do something. And then I started, my background is construction. So then I started doing builds around the world with Habitat for Humanity. So I'm interested in all of this. It's all very exciting. And I try also to you know, when I'm purchasing stuff, that it comes from a meaningful place and not, you know, constantly purchasing from big box stores and stuff like that. I like to have a meaning behind where I purchase and what I purchase.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I actually just dropped in the chat, and I'll make sure to email this out, Anne, but I shared a link from my company's website that has a quick blurb about the partnership we have with Threads that you might be interested in reading about. And then I also linked the Threads website so you can learn more about them
Okay.
and shop. So
Okay, great.
yeah, I just dropped that in the chat. I'll email it out. I see that Tammy just chatted back saying she saw it as well, but I'll make sure to email this recording out as well. And if anyone has any questions about getting, you know, learning more about Threads or, you know, how to represent these women, just let me know. I'll make sure to send out an email so you know where to find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Thank you so much, Angela and Andrea. Nice
Thanks,
Thank
Kat.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.